there is a truth most people never want to admit. Because once you see it, you can no longer pretend you didn't know. If you do not control your mouth will damage your relationships, your credibility, and moments you can never take back. If you do not control your mind will pull you into spirals, doubts, and impulses that sabotage the life you are trying to build. If you do not control your mood will dictate your day, your decisions, and the way people experience you. And if you do not control your money will quietly control your future, your options, and your peace. Most people do not fail because they are incapable. They fail because they are uncontrolled. They speak before thinking. They react before understanding. They spend before planning. They let emotions steer the wheel instead of their principles. And then they wonder why life feels chaotic, heavy, out of balance. But there is another way to live. A way built on clarity, responsibility, and inner stability. A way where you don't break your own momentum with emotional storms. A way where you don't let one bad mood ruin a good opportunity. A way where your money follows a structure instead of your impulses. A way where your words are precise, intentional, and respected, not thrown out in moments of frustration. Control is not about restriction. Control is about direction. Control is the moment you stop living by reaction and start living by intention. It is the quiet strength of someone who knows what they're doing and why they're doing it. It is the inner stability that lets you stay calm when others are loud, focused when others are distracted, disciplined when others are emotional. It is the power to respond, not the urge to react. In this audiobook, you will learn how to rebuild that power from the inside out. Not by force, not by pretending you don't feel anything, but by understanding how your internal systems work. Your words, your thoughts, your emotions, your financial habits, and how each of them either strengthens or weakens your future. You will learn why your mouth fires before your mind, why your mind spirals when you're under pressure, why your mood shifts so quickly, and why money slips away even when you earn more than before. You will learn how these 4 areas are not separate battles, but connected domains of one inner discipline. Your mouth reflects your emotional control. Your mind reflects your mental environment. Your mood reflects your internal stability. Your money reflects your long-term patterns. When one falls apart, the others begin to slip. When one becomes stronger, the others begin to rise. Most people try to fix their life from the outside. They try to fix situations, fix people, fix circumstances, but real change starts with inner architecture. The invisible structures that shape how you speak, how you think, how you feel, and how you act with your resources. When your inner structure is weak, everything feels unstable. When your inner structure is strong, even difficult seasons cannot break you. Over the next 90 minutes, you will learn the systems, principles, and habits that allow you to regain control without relying on motivation or perfect conditions. You will learn to slow your words, sharpen your thinking, stabilize your mood, and manage your money with purpose instead of impulse. You will learn to shift from emotional decisions to intentional actions. You will learn what it means to live from strength instead of reaction. Nothing in your life changes until you change how you manage yourself. Not your relationships, not your career, not your financial life, not your emotional well-being. Everything begins with self-control. Not the harsh, rigid kind, but the wise, grounded, self-respecting kind. The kind that lets you hold your tongue when anger rises. The kind that lets you breathe instead of panic. The kind that lets you keep moving even when your mood dips. The kind that lets you save and build instead of spending to feel better for 5 minutes. Control is not about being perfect. It is about being prepared. It is about being aware of what triggers you, what strengthens you, what weakens you, and what guides you. It is about choosing your response instead of letting your impulses win. It is about living with intentional energy rather than scattered emotional reactions. So as you listen, don't rush. Don't judge yourself. Don't try to fix everything at once. Instead, observe, understand. Let your awareness sharpen, and let these ideas begin to take root inside you. Chapter 1. Control your words before they control your life. There is a moment in life when a single sentence becomes heavier than anything you meant to say. A moment when your tone mattered more than your logic. A moment when your reaction created a consequence you never intended. Most people don't realize how quickly words can transform a normal day into a disaster, or a moment of connection into a moment of regret. Your words can either build your future or burn it, and the difference happens in seconds. People often underestimate the weight of their own voice. They treat words like emotions, something that must be released the moment they rise. But words are not emotions. Words are choices. Words are tools. Words are small pieces of power that either protect your life or expose it. What ruins opportunities isn't usually lack of talent. It's lack of discipline over the mouth. Someone speaks too fast, reveals too much, defends too early, attacks too emotionally, or reacts too personally. In those moments, the mouth is not working for you. It's working against you. It becomes a weapon pointed inward. And here is the painful part. Many refuse to admit most damage caused by words is permanent. You can apologize. You can explain. You can promise it won't happen again. But once spoken, words cannot be taken back. They linger in memory, shape perception, and echo longer than the moment they were born. This is why the first pillar of self-control begins with the mouth. Before you control your habits, before you control your finances, before you control your emotions, you must control the thing that expresses them all. Your mouth reveals the stability of your mind and the maturity of your emotions. Strong people don't speak because they want to. Strong people speak because it's the right moment to. Weak words chase validation. Strong words establish clarity. Weak words defend the ego. Strong words protect the mission. You have probably noticed that the most respected people you know aren't the ones who talk the most. They are the ones who talk with precision. They speak slowly, choose carefully, and hold silence like a shield. Their voice doesn't come from emotion. It comes from intention. Their words land because they aren't thrown carelessly. There is a principle that changes everything about communication. Intentional words create intentional outcomes. Careless words create chaotic outcomes. Neutral words create meaningless outcomes. Intentional words create powerful, predictable outcomes, and intentional words begin with one simple skill: pausing. The reason most people regret what they say is not because they are bad people. It's because they didn't create space between the emotion and the expression. When you respond instantly, you are not speaking. Your emotions are speaking for you. But when you pause even for 2 seconds, Your mind takes control. Your clarity activates. Your intelligence steps forward. A 2-second pause can save you from 2 years of consequences. Pause before you react to criticism. Pause before you defend yourself. Pause before you confront someone. Pause before you respond to something that feels like disrespect. Silence is not a sign of weakness. Silence is a sign of strength under control. Silence is the moment you become bigger than the emotion trying to control you. People fear silence because they think it makes them look unsure. But the opposite is true. Silence communicates stability. Silence communicates calm authority. Silence shows you are not driven by impulse, but by intention. The mind becomes sharper when the mouth becomes slower. Imagine a professional craftsman using a sharp blade. He doesn't rush. He doesn't move wildly. Chua. He makes deliberate cuts, knowing a single mistake can ruin the entire piece. That is what your speech must become. Deliberate, steady, intentional, a precise tool used with mastery. Now consider the opposite. Imagine someone swinging that same blade recklessly. Every swipe is a risk. Every movement causes damage. This is the difference between a disciplined mouth and an impulsive one. One builds, one destroys. Your words reveal yourself, control more than any action you take. Anyone can stay calm until they feel disrespected. Anyone can speak clearly until anger rises. Anyone can communicate well when everything is easy. But the real test is who you become in the moments that trigger you. Do you speak from your emotions or from your principles? When your mouth is untrained, you lose control the moment your feelings rise. You say things you don't mean but cannot erase. You escalate situations that didn't need escalation. You damage trust that took years to build. You create tension that didn't need to exist. But when your mouth is under control, everything shifts. You begin to speak from strength rather than insecurity. You begin to communicate solutions rather than reactions. You begin to influence rather than argue. You begin to protect your relationships rather than damage them. The first step toward mastering your mouth is seeing words not as reactions, but as responsibilities. Every sentence is a commitment. Every tone is a signal. Every response is a reflection of your internal state. Before a word leaves your mouth, ask yourself one simple question. Will this help me or hurt me? If it will help, speak it clearly. If it will hurt, swallow it gracefully. If you are unsure, wait. Silence is free. Regret is expensive. Control begins with the discipline to say less and mean more. A powerful life begins with a controlled mouth, because the person who controls their words controls their direction. Chapter 2. Master the art of holding your tongue. There is a strength most people never learn. Not because it is difficult, but because it feels unnatural at first. It is the strength of choosing not to speak, the strength of letting silence win instead of your emotions. The strength of holding your tongue when every part of you wants to defend, react, correct, or retaliate. Anyone can talk, but only the strong can stay silent. Most people believe silence makes them look weak, passive, or unsure. But if you study the most powerful leaders, the most respected negotiators, the most emotionally disciplined people, they all share one uncommon skill. They know when to say nothing. They understand that silence is not the absence of power. It is the concentration of power. Holding your tongue is not about suppressing your voice. It is about protecting your influence, because the words you don't say often matter just as much as the ones you do. Some of the biggest problems in your life were created because you spoke too early. Some of the best opportunities in your life disappeared because you spoke too much. And some of the deepest regrets you carry began with a reaction you released too quickly. Silence could have saved you from all of them. Silence gives you an advantage no reaction can provide, the advantage of clarity. When you don't respond immediately, you don't get pulled into the emotional storm. You stay outside the storm, watching it, understanding it, choosing the right moment, or choosing no moment at all. Most people don't realize this. Not every attack deserves an answer. Not every insult requires a defense. Not every misunderstanding needs immediate correction. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is simply not reacting. When you hold your tongue, you break the cycle that most conflicts depend on. Arguments survive on fuel. Your fuel, drama, survives on reaction. Your reaction, misunderstandings, grow through repetition. Your repetition, remove your response and the fire suffocates. This is why emotionally reactive people are easy to manipulate. Just push the right button and they explode on command. Just say the right phrase and they lose their composure. Just trigger the right insecurity and they lose their power. But a person who cannot be provoked is a person who cannot be controlled. The one who controls your reaction controls your direction. So when you control your reaction, you reclaim your direction. Holding your tongue is the first step toward that control. Consider this. The first thought you want to speak is almost always the worst one. The first reaction is emotional, unfiltered, raw. The first explanation is defensive. The first correction is fueled by ego. If you allow the first thought to exit your mouth, you hand your power to the person or situation that triggered it. But when you hold your tongue, even for a few seconds, you allow the second thought to arrive. The clearer one, the calmer one, the intentional one. The second thought is the one that protects your future. You're not required to attend every argument you are invited to. You're not obligated to justify yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You're not responsible for correcting every inaccurate assumption someone makes. Sometimes silence is the only response that keeps your dignity intact. One of the greatest misunderstandings about strength is this: people think strong. People dominate the conversation. But the strongest person in any room is the one who does not need to. A strong person doesn't rush to defend themselves because they know their character speaks louder than their explanations. A strong person doesn't rush to correct others because they know truth does not become false just because someone doubts it. A strong person doesn't rush to respond to disrespect because responding would signal insecurity, not power. You gain nothing by reacting to everything. You gain everything by choosing your reactions. Holding your tongue is also a form of emotional intelligence. It allows you to observe the real motives behind someone's words. When someone tries to provoke you, silence exposes them. When someone lies, silence reveals their discomfort. When someone complains, silence shows whether they want solutions or attention. Speaking blinds you to what is happening. Silence helps you see what is happening. There is also a strategic purpose to silence. When you pause before speaking, people pay more attention to what you eventually say. Your words carry weight because they are not constant. Your voice becomes a tool of influence rather than a background noise. People respect those who speak less, but speak with purpose. This is why in negotiation, the person who speaks first usually loses leverage. In conflict, the person who reacts first usually loses power. In relationships, the person who apologizes too quickly often apologizes for things that weren't their fault. Silence is not avoidance. Silence is positioning. But silence is not easy. It requires self-awareness. It requires emotional stability. It requires knowing that you do not need to prove anything to anyone in moments of pressure. And it requires the courage to choose the long-term benefit over the short-term satisfaction of reacting. You train this strength the same way you train any discipline, through repetition. The next time someone tries to provoke you, pause. The next time you feel the urge to correct someone mid-sentence, pause. The next time you want to defend yourself before they finish speaking, pause. The next time anger tightens your chest and you feel your mouth loading a response, pause. Each pause is a victory. Each held word is a regained piece of power. Each moment of silence is a step toward mastery. One day you will look back and realize that the silence you practiced in uncomfortable moments protected you from consequences that would have taken years to repair. You will realize you kept relationships alive, preserved your reputation, and strengthened your influence simply by learning when not to speak. Silence is not empty. Silence is full of control, and the person who controls their silence ultimately controls their voice. Chapter 3. Train your mind to resist impulses. There is a battle you fight every day, even if you never talk about it. It is the battle between what you want right now and what you truly want long term. Between the impulse that appears in the moment and the intention that shapes your future. Between the voice in your mind that reacts and the voice in your mind that leads. Your mind is your greatest ally or your most dangerous enemy. What determines the difference is whether your mind works for you or against you. And that depends on one thing: your ability to resist impulses. Impulses are quick. They are loud. They are emotional. They appear before logic has time to respond. And if you let them win, they will run your life. Most people lose not because they're weak, but because they're impulsive. They make fast decisions under stress. They follow the first thought that pops into their mind. They let their fear speak louder than their clarity. They move too quickly in the wrong direction, simply because they didn't pause long enough for their wiser thoughts to arrive. The first thought is emotional. The second thought is logical. The third thought is intentional. And the quality of your life depends on which one you obey. The mind, when left untrained, behaves like a wild animal. It runs wherever it wants, pulls you into reactions you didn't choose, and drags you into thoughts that drain your energy. You start worrying about things that haven't happened. You start overthinking situations that don't matter. You start predicting disasters that will never come true. A mind without discipline becomes a prison. A mind with discipline becomes a weapon. This is why self-control cannot start with words or money. It must start with thinking, because your thoughts shape your emotions. Your emotions shape your reactions, and your reactions shape your results. If your thinking is chaotic, your life becomes chaotic. If your thinking is weak, your decisions become weak. But if your thinking is clear and controlled, everything else becomes controllable. Your mind is not supposed to be your boss. Your mind is supposed to be your tool, but tools must be trained. Tools must be sharpened. Tools must be guided. Most people believe their thoughts are commands. But the truth is far simpler. Your thoughts are only suggestions. You don't have to obey every negative thought. You don't have to believe every fear-based thought. You don't have to follow every impulsive thought. You don't have to identify with every insecure thought. Your first reaction isn't you. It's your conditioning. Your first impulse isn't you. It's your old programming. Your first fear isn't you. It's your nervous system trying to keep you safe. You are the observer, not the impulse. Once you understand this, your entire inner world shifts. You stop panicking when your mind becomes noisy. You stop assuming every thought is meaningful. You stop thinking something is wrong with you when your brain reacts emotionally. Instead, you create space between stimulus and response, the space where control lives. Control lives in the gap. The longer the gap, the stronger the control. When your mind fires a thought, you don't react. You watch, you label it, you choose whether to act on it. This simple ability to step back and observe is the beginning of mental strength. You might say, but my thoughts are overwhelming. They feel automatic. They are automatic. That's the point. Your mind has spent years reacting before thinking. Training your mind means breaking that pattern one moment at a time. The process begins with awareness. Every time a strong impulse shows up, pause, name it, recognize it as a mental event, not a command. This is fear. This is anger. This is insecurity. This is overthinking. This is impatience. Naming the impulse weakens its power. It separates you from the emotion. It gives you enough distance to choose a response instead of reacting. After naming the impulse, redirect your focus. Direct your attention to something grounded. Your breath, your purpose, your next step, your values. Redirection is not avoidance. It is an authority. It is choosing what your mind gets to feed on instead of allowing it to feed on whatever appears first. A trained mind moves toward clarity. An untrained mind moves toward chaos. You train your mind by choosing clarity repeatedly, even when chaos is tempting, especially when chaos is tempting. Imagine you're in a room with two people speaking. One whispers the truth, the other shouts fear. If you're not paying attention, you'll follow the loud one. But just because something is loud doesn't mean it's wise. Many of your loudest thoughts are the least accurate. Many of your quietest thoughts are the most valuable. This is why people sabotage themselves. They obey the loud thoughts. They ignore the wise thoughts. Your goal is simple. Lower the volume of impulsive thoughts and raise the volume of intentional ones. You do this through consistent repetition. Pause, observe, name, redirect, act. Over time, your impulses weaken. Your clarity strengthens. Your mind becomes a disciplined environment instead of a reactive battlefield. A disciplined mind does not overreact. A disciplined mind does not collapse under pressure. A disciplined mind does not believe every fear. A disciplined mind does not chase every insecurity. A disciplined mind chooses. It chooses the direction it wants to go. It chooses the meaning it gives to events. It chooses the story it tells itself. It chooses the actions that align with its future. Your impulses will not disappear, but your obedience to them will. And that is what transforms your life. You stop sending angry texts. You stop panicking over things that don't matter. You stop catastrophizing the future. You stop making decisions you regret. You stop surrendering to emotions disguised as urgency. Little by little, your mind becomes your partner instead of your obstacle. A strong mind doesn't silence impulses, it overrules them. And when you learn to overrule your impulses, you become someone impossible to shake. Someone who can move through pressure without collapsing. Someone who can think clearly in moments where others fall apart. Someone who earns respect because their decisions are guided by wisdom, not noise. Because the person who trains their mind becomes the person who controls their life. Chapter 4. Reprogram your mindset for clarity and stability. Your mind is not just a place where thoughts happen. It is the operating system of your entire life. Everything you do, everything you avoid, everything you tolerate, everything you reach for, it all begins with the mindset you carry. But most people never update that mindset. They use the same mental programming they formed in childhood, adolescence, or during some difficult season long behind them. And then they wonder why their life doesn't match their potential. You cannot build a strong life on a weak mindset. You cannot build a clear future with a cloudy foundation. Mindset is not motivational talk. It is the lens through which you interpret reality. Two people can experience the same event, but walk away with completely different conclusions simply because their mental frameworks are different. One sees failure as proof they're not good enough. The other sees failure as information for improvement. One sees obstacles as threats. The other sees obstacles as challenges. One sees discomfort as danger. The other sees discomfort as growth. The event is the same. The mindset is what makes it different. But mindset doesn't change itself. You must reprogram it. You must redesign it. You must rebuild it intentionally. Most people think the mind is like a mirror reflecting reality as it is. But the truth is the mind is more like a projector. It doesn't show you the world. It shows you the world through your beliefs. And if your beliefs are outdated, fearful, or rooted in old pain, your entire life becomes distorted by them. This is why you can be talented but still doubt yourself. Why you can be capable but still hesitate. Why you can be intelligent but still feel lost. Your mindset governs your interpretations long before logic arrives. To change your life, you must first change the mental scripts running in the background. The sentences you repeat to yourself, the meanings you assign to challenges, the assumptions you make about who you are, the thoughts you repeat become the story you live. If your mindset tells you you're not enough, you'll move through the world proving it. If your mindset tells you the world is against you, you'll interpret every setback as evidence. If your mindset tells you improvement is possible, you'll search for ways to grow. Mindset becomes self-fulfilling, so the key is to upgrade it. To rewrite the code so your mind works with you instead of against you. To do that, you must first identify the old scripts, the outdated beliefs, the internal narratives that shape your daily reactions. Many people carry beliefs formed during moments of pain. A childhood embarrassment, a failure in school, a breakup, a rejection, a time when someone spoke words that stuck deeper than they should have. These moments crystallize into quiet internal scripts like, I'm not good enough. People don't really care about me. I always mess things up. I never finish anything. I can't change. These sentences become programs, unexamined, repeated, lived. But here's the truth you must absorb. A belief is not a fact. It is a decision you forgot you made. You can make a new decision. Reprogramming your mindset begins with awareness, seeing the script rather than obeying it. You must step back and ask, where did this belief come from? Does it serve my future or sabotage it? Is this belief based on truth or on a temporary moment I never healed from? When you bring the subconscious into consciousness, you reclaim choice. You stop living automatically. You begin to live intentionally. Once you identify a limiting belief, you must rewrite it, not with empty affirmations, but with grounded, believable truth. I always mess things up becomes I am learning the skills to execute better. I am not enough becomes I am building the traits I admire. I can't change becomes I am changing through my actions. You do not lie to yourself. You upgrade yourself. Your new mindset must be both empowering and believable. That is how transformation sticks. The next step is repetition, not emotional repetition, but behavioral repetition. You reinforce your new mindset through action. When your old belief says don't try, you take one small step anyway. When it says you can't, you act and give yourself evidence. Each small step becomes a brick in the foundation of a new identity. The mind learns from action more than intention. Action rewires beliefs. Beliefs reshape identity. Identity guides behavior, and behavior builds your future. You're not stuck. You are simply unupdated. Think of your mind like a room you haven't cleaned in years. Dust on old beliefs, cluttered memories, outdated assumptions. You don't judge the room. You clean it. You open the windows. You throw away what no longer belongs. You reorganize the structure so you can breathe again. Your mindset requires the same process. Remove beliefs that are too small for the life you want. Remove stories that were built in fear, not truth. Remove assumptions created by pain, not by clarity. And once you remove the old, you must create the new. A clear mindset is constructed, not discovered. You build it by deciding the kind of person you want to be. Disciplined, calm, resilient, focused, and then making decisions that reinforce that identity daily. You speak to yourself differently. You interpret challenges differently. You respond to setbacks differently. You treat yourself as someone capable, not someone fragile. Clarity is not something life gives you. Clarity is something you create by removing what clouds you when you reprogram your mindset. Stability rises naturally. You stop spiraling when something goes wrong. You stop doubting yourself at every difficulty. You stop reacting to emotions as if they are instructions. You become grounded, solid, unshaken. You begin to move through life with quiet confidence. Not loud, not aggressive, but steady and unmistakable. Chapter 5. Build emotional discipline. There is a quiet truth most people don't realize until life forces them to learn it. Without emotional discipline, nothing in your life stays stable. Not your relationships, not your goals, not your habits, not even your sense of self. You can have the right intentions, the right plans, the right opportunities, but if your emotions swing wildly, everything you build becomes fragile. You start strong, but collapse under pressure. You feel motivated in the morning and defeated by noon. You commit to change, but abandon it the moment discomfort shows up. Without emotional discipline, life becomes a cycle of starting over. Emotions are not the enemy, but emotional impulsiveness is. Most people don't realize that emotional discipline is not about suppressing how you feel. It is about ensuring your feelings don't dictate your direction. You can feel anger without becoming destructive. You can feel fear without becoming paralyzed. You can feel sadness without collapsing. You can feel pressure without losing control. Emotional discipline is the ability to feel fully and respond wisely. Think about how many times emotion has led you somewhere you never intended to go. A reaction that escalated a conflict, a decision made out of frustration, a message sent out of insecurity, a promise broken because the mood changed. Emotional impulses pull you out of alignment with the person you want to be. Your life becomes unstable not because you are incapable, but because your emotions hold the steering wheel. To reclaim control, you must learn how to regulate your emotional system with the same seriousness you use to regulate your finances or your time. Because the truth is simple. The moments that define you are almost always emotional moments. Moments when anger rises, moments when fear whispers, moments when sadness pulls you inward, moments when frustration tightens your chest. Anyone can act strong when emotions are calm. Strength is measured when emotions rise. Emotional discipline begins with awareness. You cannot control what you do not notice. Most people react so quickly, they don't even realize what emotion activated the reaction. They feel the spark and immediately act on it. But discipline comes from learning to pause long enough to see the emotion before it becomes behavior. A simple pause can save you from a storm. When emotion floods your system, your brain shifts into survival mode. Your thinking becomes narrow, urgent, reactive. This is why people say things they regret, make choices that hurt them, or break commitments during emotional spikes. Your mind is not failing. It is simply overloaded. But emotional discipline teaches you to slow down the process so the mind can regain clarity. The first step is recognition. This is anger. This is fear. This is insecurity. This is disappointment. Labeling the emotion separates you from it. It becomes something you observe, not something you are. When you identify an emotion, you weaken its ability to control you. You can't lead yourself if you don't first understand yourself. After awareness comes regulation. One of the most powerful tools for emotional discipline is the 993 method, a reset sequence designed to interrupt emotional spirals. Pause for 90 seconds. The nervous system naturally begins to calm after 90 seconds if you don't feed the emotion with reactive thoughts. Take 9 slow breaths. Deep breathing lowers the physiological intensity of the emotion. Ask 3 grounding questions. Is this actually important? What part of this can I control? What response would protect my future? This sequence pulls you back into clarity. It prevents you from acting on the emotion at its peak intensity, the most dangerous moment. Most emotional mistakes happen in the first 90 seconds. If you can survive that window, you regain authority over yourself. Calm is not a personality trait. Calm is a trained skill. Many people believe emotional control is something you're born with, but discipline is built through repetition, not genetics. Every time you choose to breathe instead of react, the brain forms a new pattern. Every time you stay grounded when you feel overwhelmed, your emotional threshold expands. Every time you respond intentionally instead of impulsively, your identity shifts over time. You become someone who does not break under emotional pressure. Someone who can feel deeply without drowning. Someone who can hurt without hurting others. Someone who can think while others are panicking. This is emotional maturity. the ability to hold space for your emotions without allowing them to run your life. You will still feel everything. You will just stop being controlled by it. People with emotional discipline are not unemotional. They simply don't let emotions make decisions for them. They move through life with stability. They communicate with clarity. They stay consistent regardless of mood. They do not sabotage themselves during difficult seasons. They maintain their direction even when emotions pull them sideways. Mood-driven behavior destroys long-term success. Principle-driven behavior creates it. When you lack emotional discipline, small inconveniences feel catastrophic. Minor conflicts feel personal. Temporary discomfort feels unbearable. Every setback feels like a sign to give up. Your emotions become your weather, unpredictable, swinging wildly, changing without warning. But when you master emotional discipline, you become the steady one. You become the grounded one. You become the person people rely on. You become the one who stays centered when others lose themselves. This is not just about managing negative emotions. It is also about managing positive ones. Excitement can lead to impulsiveness. Fear of missing out can lead to poor decisions. Overconfidence can make you careless. Emotional discipline keeps you balanced in both highs and lows. You stop chasing validation. You stop reacting to provocation. You stop surrendering to fear. You stop abandoning your progress because of temporary feelings. You learn that emotions are visitors, not dictators. They arrive, they stay for a moment, and then they leave unless you build your life around them. Discipline teaches you not to. The goal is not emotional neutrality. The goal is emotional sovereignty, the ability to experience whatever you feel without losing the integrity of your actions. Chapter 6. Stop letting your mood dictate your future. There is something quietly dangerous about living a life led by mood. It feels harmless in the moment. It feels honest. It feels natural. But the truth is simple. When your mood decides your actions, your future becomes unstable. Your goals become inconsistent, and your identity becomes unpredictable. Your mood is temporary. Your future is not. Most people don't realize how often they surrender their long-term progress to short-term emotion. They wake up motivated and perform well. They wake up tired and abandon discipline. They feel inspired and chase goals. They feel discouraged and disappear from their commitments. Their life follows the rise and fall of their mood instead of the direction of their purpose. A mood-driven life will always be a stop-and-go life. Your mood changes with the weather, with sleep, with stress, with tiny inconveniences, with someone else's tone of voice, with one unexpected problem. And if you allow all of that to dictate your behavior, you will live in a permanent state of emotional turbulence. You cannot build consistency on instability. You cannot build discipline on mood swings. You cannot build strength on emotional guessing. The people who succeed, the people who become trustable, the people who build powerful lives, they don't act based on how they feel. They act based on who they are. Your identity must lead. Your mood must follow. There is a painful truth buried inside emotional immaturity. People believe their feelings are instructions. They believe a difficult feeling means stop. They believe discomfort means something is wrong. They believe lack of motivation means take a break. But feelings are not commands. They are signals. Temporary information that must be interpreted, not obeyed blindly. You are allowed to feel everything. You are not required to act on everything you feel. The moment you learn to separate emotions from actions, you become unstoppable. You stop quitting when you feel discouraged. You stop disappearing when you feel insecure. You stop sabotaging yourself when you feel discomfort. You stop creating chaos when you feel anger. Most emotional damage in life comes from actions taken in moments of temporary feelings. Your mood tells you what feels easy. Your purpose tells you what is necessary. When you follow your mood, your present feels comfortable, but your future becomes fragile. When you follow your purpose, your present may feel challenging, but your future becomes powerful. The challenge is that moods feel real. They feel urgent. They feel like truth. When frustration rises, your mind tells you you're failing. When sadness rises, your mind tells you nothing matters. When insecurity rises, your mind tells you you're not capable. These emotions distort your perception. They make you believe your temporary feelings are permanent reality. But moods are not reality. They are weather. Weather changes. Your direction shouldn't. The strongest, most disciplined people in the world don't have perfect moods. They have trained responses. They feel everything you feel: anger, stress, fear, anxiety, doubt. But they don't surrender to those emotions. They use them. They move with them. They continue despite them. This is what mature emotional control looks like. What I feel is valid, but what I choose is what defines me. One of the most effective tools for breaking free from mood-driven living is the process of emotional naming and neutralization. When a mood arrives, instead of being swallowed by it, you say, "This is frustration. This is fear. This is exhaustion. This is disappointment." Naming the mood removes its power. It turns chaos into information. You are no longer drowning in the feeling. You are observing it. And the moment you observe it, you reclaim choice. You can choose not to escalate. You can choose not to withdraw. You can choose not to abandon your responsibility simply because your emotional weather changed. The named emotion is a tamed emotion. Once you identify the mood, you neutralize it, not by ignoring it, but by grounding yourself in action. This is where emotional discipline becomes emotional leadership. You take a step aligned with your values, not your feelings. Even a small step changes everything. You feel anxious, but you still send the email. You feel discouraged, but you still show up. You feel tired, but you still honor your commitment. You feel insecure, but you still take the next step. These small acts teach your brain a new truth. My feelings don't control me. I control me. Every time you act against your mood and in alignment with your purpose, you strengthen your emotional identity. You build internal trust. You prove to yourself that you are capable of stability even when you don't feel stable. And this is where real power begins. When you trust yourself more than you trust your emotions, mood-driven people live reactive lives. Identity-driven people live intentional lives. Mood-driven people change direction constantly. Identity-driven people build momentum over time. Mood-driven people burn bridges during emotional spikes. Identity-driven people protect their relationships with steady communication. Mood-driven people abandon their goals. Identity-driven people outlast discomfort. The goal is not emotional perfection. The goal is emotional sovereignty. Chapter 7. Take back control of your money. Money is one of the clearest mirrors of your inner discipline. It reflects your emotional patterns, your thought habits, and your level of self-control more honestly than almost anything else in your life. Many people think they have money problems, but what they truly have are control problems that show up through money. Money doesn't change who you are. Money amplifies who you are. If you are disciplined, money grows. If you are chaotic, money disappears. If you are reactive, money becomes unstable. If you are intentional, money becomes a tool. This is why taking back control of your money starts with taking back control of yourself. Most people never build financial stability because they interact with money emotionally. They spend when they're stressed, bored, lonely, excited, or anxious. They buy things to soothe themselves, distract themselves, or reward themselves. Mood becomes the decision maker. And when mood controls money, money evaporates. Emotional spending is one of the quietest forms of self-sabotage. It feels harmless. It feels justified. It feels momentarily comforting. But it steals your long-term freedom in exchange for short-term relief. People often blame external circumstances for their financial instability. Low income, high costs, bad luck. But the deeper truth is that money does not grow where discipline is missing. And discipline does not grow where awareness is missing. You cannot control what you refuse to look at. Financial avoidance is another silent enemy. When people feel overwhelmed, they look away. They avoid checking their balance. Avoid opening bills. Avoid confronting spending patterns. But avoidance doesn't protect you. It weakens you. Clarity is the beginning of control, and control is the beginning of freedom. Facing your money is the first act of financial strength. When you know where your money goes, you can direct it. When you direct it, you can grow it. When you grow it, you reshape your future. But structure must come before growth. Without structure, even good intentions collapse. You can want to save, want to invest, want to be responsible. But desire means nothing without a system that protects it. A powerful yet simple system is dividing your money into clear categories with clear purposes. Not as a punishment, but as a roadmap. Money for stability, money for growth, money for freedom. Structure removes emotion from decisions. It creates boundaries that behavior can follow. It prevents the chaos of "I'll figure it out later." When your money has a job, it stops working against you and starts working for you. You don't build wealth by earning more. You build wealth by managing what you already have with intention. One of the strongest financial habits is learning to pause before spending. The same toucan pause that protects your words can also protect your money. When the urge to buy something appears, pause and ask, is this solving a real need or a temporary feeling? Will I still want this tomorrow? Is this aligned with my goals or my mood? Most impulses lose their power when examined. Another essential part of taking control is separating your identity from your income. Many people spend to feel valuable, impressive, or equal to others. They chase status through objects. They buy to feel caught up. This keeps them financially stuck. Your value is not measured by what you can purchase. It is measured by what you can control. Financial maturity begins when you stop trying to impress people and start trying to secure your future. You must also accept that wealth is not built quickly. It is built quietly through routine, repetition, and self-respect. Every time you save instead of spend, you reinforce a new identity. Every time you track rather than ignore, you strengthen clarity. Every time you choose long-term stability over short-term pleasure, You become someone your future can rely on. Chapter 8. Build wealth habits that last. Wealth doesn't appear suddenly. It forms slowly, almost quietly, built through habits. So small, most people overlook them. People often imagine wealth as the result of one lucky decision or one major opportunity, but real wealth comes from repetition. The kind of repetition that happens long after motivation fades. Wealth belongs to those who choose consistency over intensity. The habits you practice daily matter more than the goals you dream about. Many people fail financially not because they are irresponsible, but because they live reactively. They spend based on mood, not purpose. They save only when they feel inspired. They invest only when they're comfortable. They plan only when pressure hits. A financial life built on reaction will always be unstable. Wealth requires rhythm, not chaos. Your habits tell the truth about your future. Your routine predicts your financial trajectory. Your patterns reveal your discipline long before your bank account does. To build wealth habits that last, you must first understand that money mirrors your relationship with yourself. If your life is disorganized, your finances will be disorganized. If you're inconsistent emotionally, you'll be inconsistent financially. If you avoid difficult conversations, you'll avoid checking your balance. Wealth is not built by fixing your money. It is built by fixing the habits around your money. The simplest place to start is awareness. When you know where your money goes, you regain control. Most financial anxiety exists because people don't track their habits. They fear what they might find. But clarity is the first form of financial power. The moment you see your patterns, you can redirect them. Daily awareness creates financial honesty. Weekly review creates financial stability. Monthly planning creates financial growth. These habits compound just like money does. A powerful wealth habit is building structure around your spending. Without structure, everything feels urgent. Everything feels necessary. Everything feels justified. But structure separates desire from priority. It teaches discipline without punishment. It protects you from impulsive behaviors that your future self will regret. Another habit that builds long-term wealth is the discipline of paying yourself first. Before you buy anything, before you swipe, before you indulge, you invest in your future. Saving is not what's left over after spending. Saving is the first decision, not the leftover. When you put your future ahead of your impulses, your identity shifts. You become someone who protects yourself. You earn money with effort. You build wealth with identity. Wealth habits also require emotional maturity. You must be able to sit with discomfort instead of buying your way out of it. You must learn to delay gratification, even when every part of you wants the shortcut. You must learn to evaluate purchases by their long-term value, not their temporary satisfaction. Growth becomes automatic when good habits become effortless. At some point, you will no longer need to force yourself to save, track, or plan. The habits will take over. The identity will take over. You will become the type of person who builds naturally because your actions, patterns, and mindset all align. Wealth is not about perfection. It is about direction. When your habits begin supporting your future instead,